Good job today, man. It's one at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
And the home of the Jets.
Mr. Jets Central. What a difference a week makes.
Tyson, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm exhausted, man, because I got probably about 4 hours of sleep because the game ended late. And then you got to try to do a recap video. I get up at 5:30 in the morning to go to work. So I'm on like fumes.
Bro,
and
that's insane, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But I'm loyal to our team. I got to stick with it. I'm loyal to our viewers. So I'm like, you know what? Just some coffee, some pre-workout, get through the show. But this is going to be an interesting show, man, because it's only one game. So you can't completely overreact. But I'm also not going to sugarcoat things either to tell people what they want to hear because they want to be fanboys or because their favorite analyst said that. There's certain things that we have to be honest and objective about it. Like if you see it, we say it. That's the way this works. So it's like if it hurts somebody's feelings or it's not what you want to believe in your team, that's fine. But it's just the opinions that I have and what you have, right? And there's certain things I just 1,000% just don't agree with, or that things that you see that are kind of alarming or concerning that can be addressed throughout the season or can improve. But after one game, you're like, oh, little bit of a problem. So a lot to digest. But I'll say this. What was your impression once you found out McCaffrey was out? Did you get a sense of confidence? Like, you know what? We both thought it was going to be a close game, a tight game, but like, you know what? This could turn the tide a little bit where maybe the Jets have a better chance now to win this game.
Dude, I freaking fell for it, man. Like so I was sitting on the couch, my brother was making something to eat. And I'm just sitting there watching the pregame. Adam Schefter pops up and it's just like Christian McCaffrey's not going to play. I like the Jets' chances going in with McCaffrey, and also too, another player that we have to keep in mind didn't play is Pearsall. Freak situation there, but so you're going into the game as a Jet fan thinking, okay, arguably the best offensive player for the 49ers, best running back in football, not playing, their first round pick not playing. I like our chances even more, and right out of the gate, man, I felt like it was pretty clear. Like by the end of the first quarter, who was out coaching who. The Jets defense looked good. I think the first drive or two, could have even just been the first. I think it was probably the first two drives. Like I felt like the defense was flying around. The Niners tried this weird trick play and didn't work. I'm thinking like, all right, let's go. This is going to be like a low scoring affair. 17-13, 2017. And I was about it, right? I love good defense, but that was pretty much it as far as the defensive, productivity is concerned, man. So, but to answer your question, I did think that I'm extremely disappointed with how we performed with no McCaffrey.
Yeah, and like going into the game, we knew it was a tough spot. You're playing one of the best teams in the NFL on the road, Monday Night Football. They're a fine-tuned machine. You have Aaron Rodgers finally playing after a year, new offensive line, all these things. The one constant for me was the Jets' defense will keep them in the game. That's going to be when Rodgers in the running game, until Rodgers gets in sync, the defense will keep us in the game, and that's what's going to be like. Then in the end, maybe Rodgers can pull it out, or we can figure out a way to pull it out. And it was like, you said it. They were thoroughly outcoached. Thoroughly. I mean, this was like varsity versus JV. It was Shanahan was a step ahead the entire night. I don't know what adjustments they made. And then you start looking at scheme, you're looking at effort, you're looking at tackling, you're looking at talent, how they're, it's like, man, like, and what we're comparing ourselves is we're talking about a team in a win now year that the aspiration is win the AFC East, make a run deep in the playoffs. So you want to see where do you stand against the best in the NFL? And they learned a tough lesson last night because last night was bad, dude. It was disheartening. It was embarrassing. And you're like, man, what happened to this defense? And where I want to start is with the defensive line, where the whole Reddick thing I don't care about because the Jets didn't have Reddick all training camp. So you had to prepare without him. You knew what the 49ers were. I mean, Will McDonald, nothing. Clemens, nothing. Kinlaw, nothing. Quinnen showed some spurts. Jalen, like you got guys like Jalen Holmes, Attack McKinley getting pushed around. I mean, and you look at what we're dealing with now as opposed to what we had last year, and it's like, all right, it's the could have, should have. We had John Franklin Myers, you had Quentin Jefferson, you had Al Woods, you had Bryce Huff. The change in personnel last night, it was just kind of painful to see where they're at right now. They can get better. Not a good start, man. They had no pass rush whatsoever, man.
Yeah, dude, 100%. Quick, before I dive into the defensive line, though, I'm just kind of going through the comments, reading them on the side here. There's so many good comments. Like, so many people are bringing up so many great points. I want to just, like, answer every single question. But, dude, oh, my God. The defensive line was probably the most shocking as far – because, look, yes, of course, no Reddick. We all know that. But to get nothing from Jermaine Johnson, nothing from Will McDonald, nothing from Michael Clemens, nothing from Tack McKinley. And, I'm not sitting here expecting 3 sacks apiece from each guy, obviously. But Purdy didn't touch, did he – I think he got sacked one time and it was in garbage time.
Yep.
Like, did he even have a stain on his jersey?
No.
And we're talking about a solid 4-3 defense that does not blitz. They drop everybody back. Yep. So the idea defensively is we have to affect the quarterback with our 4 down linemen. And if we don't do that, we're going to get picked apart. And that's exactly what happened in Saleh's first year, where we didn't have pass rushers and we were the 31st ranked defense in the NFL.
Correct.
Because we didn't have and that's not just a Jets thing, it's a scheme thing. Go back to Saleh's first year as DC in San Francisco, worst defense in football until they got Joey Bosa and started adding some talent on the D line. So, to look at this defensive line, you're disappointed from the effort. Not from the effort, from the performance, I should say, from, first round picks. I saw a comment just a second ago. I think it was from Rangers, I believe. Yeah. Am I the only one who doesn't understand drafting first round picks? To basically just to be backups, McDonald last year and Fashion this year, the Jets have invested back-to-back years in the edge position. Yep. And we're sitting here talking about we have 0 pass rush. Like, that's crazy to me. And then, you're looking, you kind of are reflecting, at least I was, like, throughout the game, like you're going back to the offseason, the moves that they made, the acquisitions, the losses. This team lost Huff, JFM, Al Woods, Quentin Jefferson, 4 mainstays on the D line. I know Al Woods ended up getting hurt, but still best run stuffer on the team when he was out there. So to replace those guys, we bring in 3. So we're already down 1.
Yes.
Right? We bring in 3. Javon Kinlaw, Lucky Fotu, and Hassan Reddick. Reddick and Fotu aren't even there. So now you're looking at a mass exodus on the D line.
Yes.
And we have 1 replacement that's actually, and then they fill in the cracks with UDFAs. So I'm not, down on McGregor for not getting a sack and this and that. Like, of course, we have to take it with a grain of salt, and also credit San Francisco. I mean, they are a stacked team in their house.
But it was a talent discrepancy, man. It was. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's like you broke it down perfectly. That's the problem. Like, you're counting on guys like Jalen Holmes, but not to discount him by no means, or McGregor. None of those guys, but like you're kind of even Solomon Thomas to be monumental, like huge impact playmakers in this defense where they're kind of in a little bit over their heads. So Jermaine Johnson, they're taking him out of the game plan because they're accounting for him. And Will McDonald's not a threat. Clemens isn't a threat. So you can't get a pass rush. You can't set the edge, and you can't stop the run. There were times last night where Mason was getting 6 yards a carry, 7 yards a carry, untouched, blowing through like the gap, blowing through holes where he's untouched. The linebackers are all accounted for. They were getting absolutely manhandled. And this is a defense that has a lot of pride, a lot of swag. They talk it, physical, tough, all this. Dude, they were getting blown off the ball endlessly. Like the Jets knew they're running the ball. They couldn't even stop it. Like Shanahan was toying with them at some points. And it's like, how does this happen? And you look at it and you're like, I kept thinking, I'm like, Will McDonald is a first-round pick. I'm like, and then this whole pissing contest with Reddick, which is long. Reddick to me is done. Like, I don't even care anymore about him. It's like, you got to adjust after that. It's not an excuse. You take advantage of what you have. Tack McKinley didn't do anything. I was shocked it got this bad. It didn't improve at all. It was like in the drives, they're like, what? They had 8 scoring drives in a row. That's like unprecedented in the NFL. Like 8, I don't care if they're field goals or not, dude. And they're like 7 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes. Dude, that's enormous. It wears your defense out. Furthermore, you know what it also does? Your offense can't get in sync. The offense was on the field for an hour at one point. Literally an hour. The offense wasn't on the field. in the NFL, today's NFL, with Aaron Rodgers, with Quincy Williams and Quinn Williams, all like Sauce Gardner, like to me, the Jets had too much talent to be that bad, but they were that bad on defense. It was, I was shocked.
Yeah, dude. So I think, I mean, first off, I agree with pretty much everything that you said. The one thing I do feel like has a major factor in this whole thing was Kyle Shanahan, right? I mean, first off, that whole everybody knows Shanahan's a great play caller. Everybody knows he does a great job in the running game. He runs a system that is built around the running game, right? So he is like the absolute mastermind of it, right? Son of a fantastic coach, and Mike Shanahan, the disciples, right? You could talk about like Mike McDaniel and whatnot. Like Kyle Shanahan is elite in what he does. And Saleh came from San Francisco, right? So he knows his tendencies. And the thing is with the Jets, like their defensive system and Robert Saleh, I mean, we know that he doesn't have much of an input, if any, offensively. So then you focus on his defense. And it's like Bill Belichick actually had a quote, I believe it was 2 years ago in a press conference. I was just watching it. I like to watch the other team's pressers just kind of midway through the week to kill time on like a long drive or whatever. Belichick had a quote when talking about the week leading up to the game in Saleh's defense, and he's just like, the Jets are the Jets. They're going to just play their defense. We're not going to see any surprises. Yep. They're just going to play, be themselves. Yep. Granted, that defense is really good, and when they execute, they are good. It's hard to stop, but we're not expecting any sort of, weird tricks up their sleeve. And, now you're looking at a guy in Kyle Shanahan who is a master in the running game, who knows Saleh, who knows his coaching tendencies, who knows Saleh's system inside and out. I mean, they run it with Sorensen in San Fran. So, I think you take all of that information and then you throw on top of it, no Reddick, no pass rush. What San Francisco just did whatever they wanted, man. They threw the ball, they protected the quarterback, they ran the ball. It was like first down, second down, third down, first down, second down, third down. It was just one play after another. And, at times, man, like it really did feel like Shanahan was toying with Saleh. Like he would send, a pass catcher or receiver just blazing down the field, pull a cornerback who's already shooting back in the cover three, and just have like George Kittle just slide inside a wide open pocket for like a quick gain of 20 yards. And it's like,
but that's the thing though. And that's like the reason why I'm so annoyed is because it's the defense. Like this is Saleh's bread and butter. Like if the offense sucked last night and it was Hackett and a mess, and I was like, you know what? Same old Jets offense, whatever else. It was like, this is like my expectations for this team are so high. Like this is where you want to see what your coaching staff does against the best of the best, because that's where we want to be. Right. And this is his defense. Like this is where, when you had Rex Ryan, Rex Ryan's come up with some crazy stuff. Todd Bowles, whatever defense you have, like if you're going to go in Shanahan, you can't be like, you know what? This is what we're going to do. Let's see what happens. You got to be constantly adjusting and figuring things out. And they got completely manhandled, dude. And that's where, like, dude, can Saleh and Ulbrich come up with a game plan that's going to be something different to completely take somebody, like this off their game? And that's something that, week one, you learned. They learned last night that they got to change things up because it's not going to work when you face an elite play caller or an elite team.
Yeah, dude, 100%. So I do have a point that I want to bring up, but if you want to, I don't know if you saw, but John,
so John got sad to say, but I wonder if the hubris of the coaching staff contributes to them skipping on the D line. They just assumed the young guys would plug and play. And that's the one thing with the Jets. There are times, and Saleh says it himself, I'll let you comment on this too, is they're a little bit arrogant about their scheme. They're a little bit arrogant about their defense. Like, no, like we can handle this. Like, what was Saleh's comment to Aikman last night? It was like, well, we want to stop the run, we stop the run. How'd that work out for what? 147 yards for Mason? Like, what? Like, but I think there's times, and Joe Douglas too, they're a little bit arrogant with their evaluation of their scheme and their defensive mindset.
Yeah, 100%, man. And one thing I was going to say is, you're listening. So wait, did you catch Saleh's presser after the game?
Mm-hmm.
So, or no, sorry. Not last night, this morning.
Yes.
So, by the way, somehow, man, you're out on like West Coast time. You have this game, you fly back to the East Coast. It's late as hell at night. Saul has to go home, whatever, wake up, and he's doing a presser at 8:30 in the morning.
He wanted it over with.
That's nuts, dude. That's crazy. Probably got like an hour of sleep. But the point is, in that presser, he said he sounded really, really confident on being able to, defense will be fine. Defense will be fine.
Yep.
And he said it with like such this, again, like this confidence about it, which to me is admitting that he got outcoached. Like he probably watched the film on the way back and is recognizing what's happening in the game and is thinking like, I just don't have any answers. Like Kyle is just one step ahead. He knows exactly what we're going to do. And so, looking ahead in Salah's mind, he's like, we're not playing Shanahan again.
Yep.
I'm not going to be outsmarted by Callahan or Van Pelt with the Patriots. I'm going to our defense will be fine. I just, I dropped the ball. And Jeff Ulbrich too dropped the ball, man. I hate to say it, but
he did.
Ulbrich does call the defense. And I was thinking, okay, even though it seemed like it was the Niners game, coming out into the second half, I was like, all right, anything could happen, halftime adjustments, whatever. Look at the Bears, came back against the Titans. The Titans owned the day for the first 3 quarters of the matchup. And what was it? San Fran went right down the field. I'm like, bro, are you sucks, man.
No, and it's really, really frustrating to see. It's like the defense drove me insane. I hate hearing the excuses. The whole thing with Sauce being out like 9 plays and he's cleared medically, but he's sitting on the sideline. That was bizarre how that was handled. So you go from the frustration of the defense to looking at the offense, and it was kind of like an inauspicious start when Breece Hall fumbles. You're like, are you kidding me? Like, the Allen Lazard drop, the Breece Hall fumble. You're like, all right. Yeah. But to me, I expected the offense to be kind of clunky because they haven't played together yet. Like you kind of expected it, right? But then it's like they do that. But I guess we'll go like position group by position group. How would you evaluate the offensive line? Because I was a little bit concerned about it.
Sorry, man. I'm just reading some.
Welcome to our channel, man. This is what happens on our. You should have saw our stream last night, man. We had 1,000 people ripping the team for 3 hours.
Dude, I mean, bro, like, can anybody really though blame Jets fans for watching that game and being frustrated? You know what I'm saying?
Of course not. Monday Night Football, man. It's Monday Night Football, and you get 400 yards of offense. I mean, that's crazy,
dude. That oh my god, that's
8 consecutive drives. 8. I'm like they're scoring again. And there was no line of it was just. But we'll go to the offense though, because what'd you think about like Tyron Smith and those guys? I thought I
thought the tackles looked good. To be honest, like all things considered, they're old. They're coming off injury.
First time playing
cross country. Yeah, first time playing. They didn't get any preseason time.
Nope.
And they're also rolling with Hackett. So all things and they're going up against a fantastic D line too. Is the expectation for the Jets offensive line to neutralize every single player, every single snap, every quarter for every week? Like, no, Rodgers will get sacked. There's going to be moments where we get stuffed in the backfield, but when it becomes a problem is when it's consistent. You can't run the ball all night. That's where I had an issue. To me, I felt like the interior, the O-line was just getting beat down. Like 100%. ABT Tittman struggled. Even I think it was in the second half when it was like 3rd and 1 around midfield, and they just try to give it right back to Breece up the middle and just got stuffed. I'm like, man, that's a perfect situation to put Braylon Allen in. Fresh legs, pound the line of scrimmage, and try to fall forward. And it's like, I mean, there's so much stuff that we can dive into on the offense, man. But
well, let's dive into it, because I'm the same boat you're on. Like the offensive line, I think held their own. I mean, it's first time playing together. They're getting used to the offense. They're getting used to Aaron Rodgers' cadence. Completely agree with all that. The play calling, again, I was like, all right, we talked about this, even like texting, we were talking about it. Like, are they going to be run, 3rd and long pass? I mean, they want to establish Breece Hall. The 49ers knew that. We knew that. But it was like, you could only force him so much. And I was like, all right, maybe work in Braylon Allen, maybe use Breece Hall out of the backfield. Like the play calling was kind of like suspect early on, was frustrating. Then when they let Rodgers finally throw the ball, they marched right down the field and they featured Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. So it's like, all right, they're featuring their playmakers. But I'm like, all right, what happened to Conklin? Like, why aren't they spreading it out a little bit more? Like now, the 49ers are starting to figure out what you're doing. They're stacking the box, they're taking Breece out of the game. They know they know you're going to get Garrett. Like, what happened to Conklin? Like they just got the play calling. I thought was, even though it was limited because they were on the field, they're only on the field 20 minutes. But the play calling was just weird, dude.
So, dude, like for me, I know this might not be, a super popular opinion or take or whatever, but when the Jets went all the way down the field, like it was exciting, but I didn't necessarily agree with it because, well, I guess that kind of sounds a little weird, right? But my fear after that drive kind of played into effect, which was that the Jets are just relying on Brees Garrett.
100%.
Brees Garrett. I mean, if you look at that drive, like almost every single pass play for positive yards went to Garrett Wilson.
Yep.
And it's like Rodgers identifies where he's at, finds the matchup. The Niners just have him on solo coverage, and then it's just Rodgers to Wilson. And then my thought post drive, it's like, we get in the end zone, Brees runs it in, sweep. When we get the ball back, it kind of just felt like there's this pressure to get Wilson the ball. Not saying that Wilson is demanding it or he's a diva or whatever. He's becoming a headache, but it just kind of feels like the offense just gets tunnel vision with Brees or Garrett. And they started trying to press to Garrett, and Rodgers ends up throwing the INT. But it's like, how many times did you hear Corley's name or see him on the field in the first 3 quarters?
Nope.
Or Mike Williams or Conklin, Xavier Gibson,
that
was Allen, Isaiah Davis, bro. All these guys that we heard all off season, like non-existent. And it's nothing against them. It's just there's no plays, being with those guys involved. Lazard was featured. I mean, his touchdown pass came on like a free play. So it's like,
but it's like you have and I was in the same boat you're at. I'm like, listen, we all love Garrett Wilson. And, Aaron Rodgers is going to feed him a ton of passes like he did Devontae Adams and everybody else. We understand that. But you also, Mike Williams, I didn't expect anything out of, to be honest with you. I was more of a decoy because he's getting healthy. He's learning the offense. He's probably very limited. And Rodgers probably doesn't trust him yet. Probably doesn't know what what his route chemistry is there. So it's like, all right, Lazard had to drop early, whatever. Corley, not even involved. But Conklin was the biggest surprise to me. I'm like, how are they not utilizing him? If you're not comfortable with him, where's Ruckert out? And even Braylon Allen, at some point, we all love Brees. Especially at the end of the game when they took Rodgers out and Brees was still in the game. I'm like, what a living, dude, we'll get into that later on. Because I was like, that was a typical Saleh. But the utilization of your personnel, I understand week 1, but it's also year 2 of Hackett with questionable usage of his players. Didn't understand it, man. And that's all right. Do you not have faith in the receivers you have? Is there going to be a ton of reliance on Williams when he's healthy? I mean, do you not trust Conklin? Because remember what Cobb said, man. Randall Cobb actually said it. If you don't run the right route, doesn't know where you're going to be, you're never getting the ball. Is it a case of that?
I mean, that's stupid because it's self-inflicted. You know what I'm saying? I mean, well, I guess not really because Lazard had the drop early. Brees Hall had the fumble and a drop. Yep. I don't know. I feel like it's more so Hackett because we saw this last year. Hackett seems like he gets obsessed with one player.
Yep.
And that one player most of the time is Brees Hall. I mean, a lot of people point to the Patriots game, but we saw at times Brees Hall he just gets force-fed the ball. Which is not, inherently a bad thing because he's a great player. But
you gotta read the game though. If you can't establish the run, even the 2-point conversion, the running play there, that was stupid. I knew it. I'm like, please don't run the ball. You're not gonna get it. You're not fooling them. They know what you're gonna do with it. You've got to be more creative there. And again, it's only one game, but this is things we saw last year. The other thing is you have Braylon Allen. And it's listen, Brees Hall doesn't need 35 carries a game. He doesn't. You have these backup running backs for a reason, change of pace, bulldoze, or whatever else. When you get, a big splash play, didn't do that. And even Corley, dude, if he's your yak king, you can't get him the ball on a screen, see what he can do. Maybe he can create something for you, generate some kind of splash play other than doing the same old nonsense.
Yeah, another thing too, man. It's you're looking at the Jets draft. Yeah, and again, it's one game. We have to take it with a grain of salt. Maybe it's not the norm. Maybe this is just the anomaly and Saleh just, the moment was too big or the lights were too bright or whatever the case is. But you look at the draft, so we go, Olu, right? He's not playing. And rightfully so, right? We know that we knew it when we drafted him. We know it, or we knew it coming into this game. And by the way, quick little side note, they actually made Max Mitchell and Carter Warren inactive and Leonard Taylor too, for some reason.
Odd choice.
But anyway, Olu's not playing. Their next pick was Corley. He wasn't involved. Their next pick was Braylon Allen. He wasn't involved. Jordan Travis was their next pick, and he's hurt. Isaiah Davis was the following pick. and he wasn't involved.
Mm-mm.
And then we have Quantez Stiggers, who came in late, I think, for Sauce
Yep.
or for Michael Carter.
Yeah.
But like, what other team says, okay, our entire from rounds 1 through 5, 0 impact at all?
Crazy.
And we're not even asking, nobody's complaining, oh, we need to start Stiggers, we need to start Braylon Allen. It's just like, no, can these guys, contribute in some sort of, like, I don't know, man, like Braylon, like last night was the perfect game to get Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen involved in situational football, whether it's the 2-point, whether it's that 3rd and 1, Brees has that fumble, you know what? Because it's not like Brees was dominating, man. Like, he looked bad. Like, I got a buddy who's a big Lions fan, and he picked Brees in fantasy, and he just texted me. He's like, Brees sucks, LOL. I'm like, bro, he doesn't suck. And he's just like, dude, he has one drop, one fumble. He's getting no push he's getting no success in the running game. I'm like, I understand, the optics from it.
Right.
But again, this is just like an external, fan of football watching. And to me, somebody who like knows the roster, I'm like, you know what? Brees isn't having the best game. Stop trying to force feed him the football. Let's get Braylon. And I'm not saying Braylon Allen is Chris Johnson, Jamal Lewis, like a, great running back. I'm just saying fresh legs, big body, physical moments. Like, why did we draft him for situational moments and to take pressure off of Brees?
But it's also the element of surprise. Like, nobody knows what Corley can do. Nobody knows what Allen can do. Nobody knows what Isaiah Davis can do. They're all like, it's like an element of surprise where, you know what? Throw them a screen, give them different looks to the defense to keep them off balance, because they're stacking the box and stopping everything. It drove me absolutely insane to watch it. And like I was Sneakers the Boots just said it. We had the same questions about Hackett last year, the utilization of personnel. And then the one thing I want to ask you about is Aaron Rodgers, where
well, hey, Tess, real quick before we dive into that, Sneakers the Boots actually did a super chat. Yeah, if you scroll up a little bit, had a couple of questions.
Okay, why? Okay, I love Sneakers the Boots. To me, he's a good dude. Why do we come to these conclusions mid-game, but the staff can't? 3rd and short, don't use power back. Allen, they're stubborn in their ways to a fault. And the funny thing is Sneakers the Boots, because I think he was in the chat last night. Ian, we live stream these games, and we literally talk about it. Like, so it's not like we're not like second guessing like today, like, oh, we should do that. Like, we're literally talking about, like, dude, bring in Allen, bring in this, do that. Like, and the staff, it's like it comes off like arrogant. That's my word for tonight, I think, with this staff, is they're very arrogant about their scheme and what they think. They think they know more than everybody else, even the opposing team. But the results don't match that sometimes. Most of the time, actually. And it's frustrating to see that.
I mean, it's frustrating because you kind of feel like that's the situation going back to last year. They were arrogant with the whole backup quarterback. No, we're not signing anybody. No, we're not going to trade for anybody. No, we're not even going to have somebody in for a workout. Like, if you're playing Madden, right, and a player gets hurt, doesn't matter the position.
Yep.
You'd be playing 2K, right? NBA, MLB. If you have a player that's hurt, let alone the starting quarterback of a team, you get a player that's hurt, you're like, okay, who's on the free agent market? Who's on the trade block? Who can we call to bring in for a workout? And, at the time, it was like Joe Flacco and Carson Wentz and whatnot. And it's like, no, this is our team. This is Zach's team. We know what we're doing, until it was too late. And they signed Simeon a month later, and the season was wrecked, right? We've seen this stuff before from the regime. Like, no, we're smarter. We know what to do. The whole Mike White thing, like letting him walk to keep Zach, to like not mess with the confidence, and firing LaFleur was another one. Hiring Nathaniel Hackett was another.
But even like Leonard Taylor not playing last night, I thought was strange. Like,
especially with Fotu not playing.
Especially when they're going to run the ball. Like, you look at just like you said, even the Carter Warren, Max Mitchell thing. I'm like, well, that's odd. I'm like, it's Olu's going to be just like next man up wherever, just throw him in, like throw him to the wolves when you have guys that are already practicing there. Like, it doesn't. I think stubborn's the word. I think it is. They're just stubborn. They're arrogant, and I get, for people, we understand it's only one game, but we can only assess what we just saw and see what happens going forward. Also assess what we saw and look what happened last year and find the similarities. So the thing that I want to get your take on is Aaron Rodgers, where we were super excited, man. Like, want to see him play a full game. You want to see him run this offense, see how it looks. He made some incredible throws. The mobility in the pocket and his movement in the pocket. You're like, all right, it's a work in progress, man. I think it's going to take him some time to get his legs underneath him, like game legs underneath him, where he can really step into his throws and even be like more mobile. And you know what I mean? I think the pocket was fairly clean, but his footwork seemed like he was kind of like not skittish, but not like seemed a little bit off, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could tell that and it goes back to not playing these guys in the preseason. And by the way, I don't say that with like hindsight, like, oh, they should have done it. Here's another, thing that they should have done that they missed out on. Not at all, right? I understand the reason why these guys didn't play.
Right.
But with that, right, comes a downside, which is these guys are going to be rusty because it's not just Rodgers, it's Tyron Smith and it's Morgan Moses. And from that point, it's how do the guys that have played, how are those guys impacted by that?
Yep.
So, and bottom line is they're playing a great team, a great defense with tons of stars in their house, with an extra day of preparation from Kyle Shanahan, who Saleh came from,
Yep.
so, or in San Francisco where Saleh came from. So the odds were stacked against the Jets last night, but I still like their chances to keep it close, keep it within a TD.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody should be getting mad at fans for having some frustrations about, last night. Like, oh, if you have some concerns about maybe Rodgers' mobility, that's totally fair. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much every year since I want to say year 2 of Saleh. There's like hype and the team talks, and there's like this like let's beat our chest to the rest of the NFL, like we're this, we're that. And then when it doesn't happen, fans are allowed to be, upset or angry. You know what I mean? Like, especially with the prices of these tickets now these days, but it's a different story. But in any case.
And the team hasn't won. They haven't won in 14 years. I mean, like, let's call it. They played us 14 years. It's not like there's not a vast amount of winning with this regime or any other regime in the last decade that you can hang your hat on. Like, you know what? This is a winning program. We're trying to hope. We're hoping in this. Like, we've all bought in again this year. We bought in last year, blew up in our face. We're buying in again this year, and then you see that where you're like, all right, big spot, tough spot, but they weren't really competitive. They got embarrassed on defense, so you get frustrated. But everybody's like, you know what? Like we always say, turn the page. Tomorrow, we're all back. We're all back in tomorrow. Bring on Tennessee. Let's go do this and whatever. But there's little things you keep in your mind where you're like, all right, this is a little bit concerning, right? Like this is things you don't want to see, but you figure Rodgers is going to be better. The offensive line is going to be better. Hackett, you don't really know. But the one thing that I have two more things to tell you. The end of the game really pissed me off. There's two things at the end of the game that pissed me off. And this is where my buzz probably kicked in a little bit because I was not drunk, but I was getting annoyed. Where I hate when you're down 16 or 19 points and they make a play and they're taunting people. Clemens. Like, bro,
even Lazard's TD where he's like flexing.
I'm like, what are we doing? Like, it's like, come on, man. Like, you're doing nothing. You're getting your ass beat on Monday Night Football. This game is over. There's no need to taunt and act like that when you're done, especially on defense. Defense, just get off the field, man. Like, we're done with that. The end of the game management with Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson pissed me off to no end. The minute you take out Rodgers, you take out Breece, you take out Garrett. They're a package deal. One goes out, they all go out. They ran Breece 2 more times in garbage time. That's when you give the ball to Braylon Allen. They're feeding the ball to Garrett Wilson. That's when you throw the ball to Corley or somebody else, Gibson, somebody else. Get them at like that dude. It was like that's typical Saleh. It's a lack of awareness where he got lucky because nobody got hurt. But can you imagine something got hurt? They got hurt last night with that. That's typical Saleh right there, dude. No clue what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, they ran whatever it was 40 plus times to Breece Hall in that last game against New England, last game of the year, in the snow, like in the cold. It was just weird. One thing I wanted to ask you about, and I guess you kind of addressed it earlier, but my counter. All right, let me just ask you. Moving forward, you wake up today, Joe Douglas. The Jets are 0-1, so is half the league. Yep. But you watch the pass rush. Your first round pick, Will McDonald. Not too much. Jermaine Johnson, first round pick, not too much. Clemens, the guy that everybody has been hyping up this offseason, and by everybody, I mean internally, organizationally, from the Jets' perspective. Clemens is our guy. Didn't do much outside of the sack in the garbage time. Tack, whatever, McGregor. Is the pressure on to pick up the phone and not overpay or anything, but to let's negotiate with Reddick, even if he's not in the building. Let's try to figure something out because actually, I'll wait to hear your answer.
Lucky I'm not cursing right now. But the thing is this, the Jets got a pass last night because it's the 49ers. It's this great 49er defense or offense. So you know what? They didn't get a pass rush because it's the 49ers. If that happens against this weekend where they get no pass rush, they're going to start looking very, very stupid. So my response to that is this should have already been done. To me, the damage is already done because what are you getting if you sign Reddick today? So
but we agree. We agree. We're on the same page with that.
But if you sign him today, but it's like, so if you say they sign him today and give him whatever kind of money, they're going to look stupid, first of all. Like, oh, they panicked. Now they went and signed him. Furthermore, what player are you getting? You're not going to get Hassan Reddick till week 5. And the reason why I'm saying that is doesn't know the offense, doesn't know the defense, doesn't know his teammates, doesn't know anything. Is he in football shape? You're like, there's so many different things. So when you bring him in, what are you going to get this Sunday out of him, if anything? So now you're missing 2 games with him, right? Or he gets what, 10 snaps to do what? I mean, like, if you want to get it done, I think you have to because there is a concern that Clemens isn't good. But the fact that we're here now is a problem. It is because it should never gotten this far. Because
but Joe,
right?
but I 100% agree, man. You know my stance on the situation with Reddick. But Douglas can't go back in time. The only thing that he can do now is figure something out. And even if Reddick is not what he once was because he missed every practice in training camp.
It's not easy, man. It's not easy.
Such a frustrating situation, man. Because he missed every practice in training camp, he might not look, what he once was. As a general manager of a football team, you gave up an asset for this player. You let all of these guys go.
Yep.
You cannot, this to me, if it just never happens, right? There's no communication, whatever it is, they can't come to an agreement. Or, and most importantly, if the Jets don't try to pursue it, this goes back to the ego thing that I was talking about before.
100%.
Because again, my understanding is if you're a general manager of an NFL team or NBA, MLB, whatever, the team comes first. Egos got to be left at the door. Yes, it looks very bad for the Jets. Oh, now they're running back to Reddick. It doesn't matter. The headlines are the headlines. The news, they're going to talk. It's a lose-lose for the Jets as far as like an optic perspective.
100%.
But what's the alternative? To not sign him and continue to suck rushing the passer? And look, there's a chance that the Jets get better at rushing the passer for sure. But I don't necessarily think that you could argue, oh, the Jets are better without Reddick.
Well, I think what could happen, this is my concern, not concern, but they could get this is a fair point by Mike too. Jet fans are very arrogant. Why are we talking about the Titans as an afterthought? And that's very true. Like I assume when it comes to the Jets, I never assume anything. It's an easier opponent than the 49ers, but I think the Jets could get a bit of fool's gold in theory is they're playing lesser opponents where they may generate some kind of pass rush over the next couple of weeks. And then when you face the higher quality teams, it may fall off again. But then in the meantime, it's like, like the goal is to be amongst the best teams in the NFL. Does Reddick help you do that? Now it's like, I guess he's probably your best option because we already saw last night that I have no faith in Will McDonald. I just don't anymore. Clemens, I didn't like before the season, so it's not like anything's changed there. And then all these young guys like Tack McKinley got eaten alive too last night.
But what would you do then?
It's a lousy situation, man. Because I just my concern, like you're right. At this, you got to do what's best for the team.
You got to bite the bullet.
But then the only thing is, this guy's already lost $5 million. How much are you going to pay him for 15 games? Like that, like right? Like that's like think about it. He's already lost $5 million. You already missed 1 game. If he signs tomorrow, I guess you can probably suit him up on Sunday and say, just go run and chase the quarterback twice. But I mean, it's such a weird spot to be in, dude.
But the faster you get him in the building, the more you're going to have him. It's the same argument with backup.
Well, that's why it should have happened 2 weeks ago. Like this is why.
Yeah, dude, I know, and I agree with you, bro. But it's not like we can go back. We both said it. Reddick this thing should have been done. This thing should have been handled. If the Jets don't want to re-sign Reddick, they shouldn't have traded for him. They should have just signed one of the many pass rushers on the free agent market who just signed a 1-year cheap contract.
But doesn't it also?
By the way, dude, I don't know if you saw. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Not like this is going to change, make this dramatic difference, but you had a guy on the market, Kayvon Chaisson, former first-round pick out of LSU. No interest from the Jets, and I'm not I'm not saying that he's fantastic or anything like that, but you know, if you're unsure about the pass rushing position and you're unsure about it moving forward and you're unsure about re-signing Reddick, let's like you got to have an answer.
Yep.
Again, as a GM of a football team, like there has to be plan A, plan B, plan C, and probably a plan D. So you can't just say, in my opinion, oh, well, it's going to take them too long to get ready. Because if we say we have no pass rush against Tennessee, New England, and Denver, right? You know, and we're pressured into signing Reddick then. It's like, all right, well, now we're not going to see him until November 1st. You know what I mean? Like,
but see, like the thing that this is going to come off really negative. So I got to think how I'm going to word this. You know what bothers me the most is that the Jets try to sell us some things. Oh, Michael Clemens lost weight. He's the most improved guy. He's all these things. Will McDonald is the same weight as he was last year, but he's a lot stronger, a lot more explosive. Like they sell us these vision of these players, and then like it never matches what we actually see. Even last year, we didn't see it. And it's like, all right, preseason they played, didn't really see much. Like, all right, like at some point, like it's almost like the Jets were scared to sign a defensive lineman or a pass rusher because they'd be like, oh no, that means Michael Clemens and Will McDonald aren't good. I don't care if they're not good or not. Own your mistake and say, you know what, we need to upgrade here. Own your mistake and say, you know what, we better get Reddick done because what we have here is not going to be good enough. We need 3 pass rushers. We have like 1.5 right now. We have Jermaine Johnson and other guys. I mean, Quinton can count as 1, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like edge guys, you have like 1.5 right now. You need 3. So that's like they almost get like they try to sell us the word about the repercussion or the visual of it. Oh, they went out and signed another pass rusher. I don't care, man. Like I'd rather you own your mistake and admit it. But you know what? Will McDonald's just not ready yet. Fine. Let's see him next year then. On to the next one because I want to win football games. That's the most important thing.
Took the words right out of my mouth, man. I was just about to say winning football games should be the number 1 priority for the New York Jets right now.
Yep.
You know, if you are Carolina, if you are New England, and they lose a couple games over this next month, it's not the end of the world. But if you're a team like Cincinnati or Baltimore, right, they started 0-1 just like the Jets, they go on a losing skid, yeah, there's going to be pressure there. There needs to be a standard or not necessarily a mandate, but a overall philosophy, a winning culture. Wins matter more than egos. Wins matter more than headlines. Wins matter more than what people on TV are talking about, you know, like how they're talking about us. Because winning cures all, dude. Like you
100%.
you always talk about it, man. Like winning is a great deodorant. Like
100%.
when the team wins, problems disappear. Not necessarily themselves, you know, they don't disappear off the team, but to the media, to articles, to debate, sports shows and stuff, that they're not talked about.
If the Jets win on Sunday and have 1 sack, nobody's going to give a rat's ass about the pass rush. They got to win. 1 sack or no sacks, they won the game. Nobody cares. But when you lose and you're like, oh, we have no pass rush, they have no this, you start identifying all the red flags and all the problems, and that's exactly what it is. But you're right. That's where some things the Jets do just don't. It's just they're worried about perception, or it's like they're the backlash of it all. And I genuinely don't care. It's not about feelings, man. It's about doing what's best for a team. But with that being said, they're in a position now where they got to lick their wounds. All right, bad loss, ugly loss, especially on defense, and you got to rally around because you have 2 games in 10 days. And to me, they're both must wins. You have to be. They're both wins. You have to get the home opener. Patriots got to win that one. They're AFC games against teams that you're better than. I mean, I guess you can't assume, but on paper, talent-wise, they're better. They have to win both games. I don't care about the 10 days. I don't care about travel because you got to turn this around quickly.
I'll say this, man, about the Titans, and I think Mike is alluding to it too in the chat. Bro, the Titans, man, like they zap. Like, you know, when you see a team, you know, have a relatively young GM and a new coaching staff come in, and they're going to be rolling out, a young quarterback. They got a top 10 pick. You typically see those teams rebuild. Let's trade our veterans, acquire more picks, so the new coaching staff can, handpick more players out of college. The Titans said, no, we're not doing that. They traded for L'Jarius Sneed. They signed Tyler Boyd. They really made a lot of acquisitions. Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams. Like they really signed Calvin Ridley, like Tony Pollard, like the list goes on, right? Drafting JC Latham, who's an immediate starter. And their defense, dude, it's actually stacked, bro. Like,
Yeah, it is.
again, Snead, Harold Landry, Sebastian Day looked pretty good. I personally felt like watching that Titans game, the Titans blew it. Like,
They
they
did blow
gave
it.
the game to Chicago, bro.
Yep.
Like, 2 stupid INTs. They had the strip sack fumble on Levis. They had the punt block for a TD,
Yep.
and they barely lost the game. All that stuff had to go wrong.
Yep.
So now it's their home opener after getting embarrassed against Chicago, a team that they controlled pretty much the entire day and gave the game to. They're going to come out guns blazing, I think, against the Jets. Like, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to put, our foot on the necks.
Yep.
And Saul actually addressed Callahan, in the presser today, that Callahan, of course, he's one of the best offensive line coaches in football, but he's actually had he's had a ton of success going up against solid defenses.
Yes, he has.
Like, and you're starting to look at kind of what's been transpiring. It does kind of lead you to believe, all right, does the Jets defensive line struggle once again? And do the Titans know that, right? Like, are they going to play into that? Or are the Jets going to blitz more so to where they're over pursuing and we're going to just open up the screen game, quick passing game, while everybody's trying to over pursue. So I don't know. I'm not looking at this game as an automatic win. It's a must win for me.
Yes, it is.
Because you have to start fast, man. Like,
yeah, you got to set the tone. You got to set the tone. Like, this is it. Like, you have to be the more physical team, the more aggressive team. The line of scrimmage is where it matters the most. Take it blow off the ball. You cannot give this team confidence, especially Levis. Don't give him confidence, getting 6 yards of carry, guys, the soft zone, guys running open space. What Jawan Jennings had how many catches last night? Just nobody near him, which was crazy. Or Jawan Jennings. It was just like it's not easy. Like, I hate saying, like I said, I never assume anything with a Jet team ever, especially the first couple weeks of the season, because anything can happen. All these teams are identifying who they are. But they definitely self-destructed, though. They could have very easily won last week because the Bears only had 140 yards of offense or some ridiculous number. It was really low. But this is where you count the leadership. This is the leadership of C.J. Mosley, Aaron Rodgers, Quinnen Williams. Like, listen, we got to turn this around. We cannot afford to go 0-2. Division game. Or I'm not giving me a conference game, which is more important. So,
yeah, it's not gonna. The Tennessee Titans game is not going to be a walk in the park.
nope.
Yes, the Jets should win, but it will. I'll say this: if we look like how we did against the Niners, we're not winning. 0 pass rush like that, you can't stop the run. It's interesting. Again, I think the Jets are going to win. I'm interested to see what the Vegas odds, the Vegas line is going to be, because going into that Niners game, I think it was -4.5, which is pretty damn. That's like Vegas saying like Niners pretty much got this.
My fear is, this is going to sound kind of crazy coming off a loss. My fear is the Jets think that they're better they're better this weekend, and they kind of walk in feeling that way. Like, we know we're the better team. We're just going to walk in and win this game. That's my big. And I know it sounds crazy coming off a loss, but pretty much everybody in this area is saying, you know what, Jets can win the next 3 games in a row. Why are you guys so worried? Like, it didn't happen yet. First of all, you play game by game, see what happens. You never want to get overconfident and cocky. But we're just going to. Once we go on the field, we have Aaron Rodgers. We're going to win this game. You can't be like that. And I'm wondering, but that's on solid and the leadership too, to like, listen, we can't have that mindset.
Bro, look at New England beating Cincy. Who projected that? Who thought that was going to happen in Cincinnati too? Granted, T. Higgins didn't play, but still, man. I mean, New England in every mock draft is picking first.
So I guess
the Bengals win in the North, so you can't.
It's 3.5 or 4 points. They're saying.
Okay,
spread's
pretty good. That's pretty good. Especially for a road team.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I look, if the Jets walk into Tennessee, Nashville with that mindset, like, oh, we're better. And you can tell on the field when that happens.
1,000%.
You can easily tell, you can pick that up really, really quickly. But see, like it better not happen, man. That's all I'll say, man. Because if that's the case, the seat for Robert Saleh just got white hot. Jets win the game and we come out nonchalant like that, white hot.
You need about an enormous sense of urgency. Like, this is where the Jets got to flex their muscles. Be like, you know what, come in and just be like, listen, we blew it Monday night. We're going to show you what we're really all about starting this week, and just dominating both sides of the ball. And just
wake up call, dude. Yeah, Monday has to be a wake up call.
It has to be. And like the one comment that Breece Hall said that really kind of bothered me is like, They played harder than we did. And I'm like, how are they playing harder than you on Monday Night Football, the first game of the season? But you're right. You could tell, though. There's points in the game where you're like, you know what? Like, I don't want to say the Jets defense quit, but they were just getting manhandled. And they were just getting pushed around, shoved around. Like, look at the clock. Be like, let's get this game over with. It's not our night, and that's it. That can't happen on Sunday, man. They've got to just scratch and claw through this one.
Not to keep on harping on the negatives here, man, but I think it was end of the third quarter, start of the fourth quarter. I don't know if you noticed, but it seemed like a couple of the defensive linemen were gassed. They had their hands on their hips. At one point, Clemens just was kneeing on the ground.
Yes, he was. Yep.
Which is, concerning because A, it's week one, and B, the Jets rotate guys in and out. So it's not like they're getting the typical snap share.
Yep. No, dude, there was a couple things. It was like, oh, they had this hard training camp. And that's why I'm like, why is Taylor not like active? It was like a weird, like the choices they made were weird. I know they like McGregor and Jalen Holmes, but I don't know, man. It's then Mosley got banged up, and that made you hold your breath a little bit. They brought Sherwood in.
Michael Carter too.
Michael Carter, and he had a rough game too, man. I know he's banged up. He had a rough night, but the defense was just
struggled to me, man. Like I felt like Ashton Davis was really getting exploited.
He got beat by the fullback.
Yeah. Granted, best fullback in the game, though.
Bro, come on. But the fullback. Like, you're sitting there, it's like you're watching the game, and as things go on, you just keep shaking your head. You're just like, this can't be. I'm like, how much more time's left in this game? Then they get the offsides touchdown, which is cool, but it was just excruciating. I'm like, I'm tired of dealing with games like that. So hopefully he bounce back this week. We can enjoy some football. Because I'll be honest with you, the drive that Rodgers had was cool as hell, man. Like, it was fun to watch them play that kind of football on offense. We've never seen that before. Like, all right, this is the potential of the offense, and then that was it the rest of the game.
So, Matt, dude, that Matt West comment there on Salah's record, that is wild.
Oh, okay.
And, it would be one thing if, I just want somebody within the, like, some sort of coach to have, like, we got to earn it first. Kind of like Dan Campbell in Detroit a little
1,000%.
Tom Coughlin, even with the Giants early on. Trying to think of who else. Not so much Belichick, but I'm trying to think of like older Marvin Lewis when he first took over for Cincinnati. Like, we haven't done anything, man. I haven't done anything here. I gotta turn this thing around. We're not gonna be talking and running our mouth, and teams are out hustling us on week one. Like, we are like we gotta start back at square one from a philosophy standpoint, like mental standpoint, on how we view ourselves and the rest of the league. Like, the Jets got humbled on week one.
Yeah, you mean they're really good at telling everybody how great they are. They actually got to show it now. Like, we like one Jets drive and all these different things, and they talk about it. We the best this, we the best that, all this great stuff. That's awesome. It's nice for videos, but on game day you got to show it now. And there's just too much talent on defense to play like that ever again. You just can't be like that. And they've got to figure it out fast, because again, 2 games in 10 days, man. That's a huge defining moment in the early part of your season, because we're all assuming that they win all these games, right? Everybody's saying, no, they could be 5-1, they could be all this. Well, it starts by winning on Sunday, because 0-2 is a whole. You start going 0-2, then you start getting like, all right, now we're starting to dig holes, and now these are all tiebreakers down the line. You're worried about seedings and all this other nonsense.
And another thing too, man, whether you like the Dolphins or the Bills, one of those teams, they're going to win week 2.
Yep.
They play each other in 2 days, 48 hours.
Yep.
So by Sunday, New England is at home against Seattle. I feel pretty good about Seattle's chances in that game. Look, if the Jets start 0-2, we're already 2 games back from the division.
Yep.
Whether that's the Bills, because both Buffalo and Miami won. So again, whether it's the Bills or the Dolphins, one team will be in first place.
Yep.
Now, look, if New England beats Seattle, now we're looking at, like, I would go as far as to say it's the best division in football. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yep.
But
must win, dude. Must win on Sunday. It is a must win. There's really no excuses. Like, you have to. This is a great test for the entire staff, the team, leadership, everybody. Rally around it, get it figured out. You have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, which is a huge asset. He made through his first game. He's healthy, he's happy. Figure it out. And I don't care about the short week. I don't care about it. I don't want to hear about, like, I'm tired of excuses. Short week, lots of travel. It's the NFL. Nobody cares. Like, literally, I'm tired of it. Win games. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets could have had a much worse schedule. You know, like we could have had San Francisco in week 16.
Yep.
We had him week 1. I mean, we had the entire offseason to prep for, San Fran. We could have gone out there earlier. We could have had Reddick under contract. We could have played, showed up with a more creative game plan from Hackett, right? There's questionable decisions, but again, I like the Jets' chances against Tennessee. Clearly, so does Vegas, but
Now, I saw there's a bunch of comments about the play of C.J. Mosley. I mean, C.J. Mosley, the defensive line was doing next to nothing in terms of blocking. Like everybody was running free, man. Like everybody's getting blocked up. I mean, he's not who he used to be, but he's still a very good linebacker. He had no chance last night, man. They were all getting eaten up by blocks. Every one of them. Nobody was shedding blocks in the front defensive line. None of them were.
no. Quinnen looked okay.
Yeah.
There was one moment where he lined up actually as like a D end.
Yep.
I think it was on the left side, or left side from the defensive. So he was going up against the right tackle and just blew right by him. And
Well, they had
forced Purdy to throw early.
Well, they had to use him out there because they had no defensive ends left. Like it's like a John Franklin Myers now. It's exactly what the role they're putting him in. It's just, and you actually had John Franklin Myers here.
Yeah, and I've seen like a lot of people suggest like, all right, well, Huff didn't impact Philly week 1. JFM didn't do much for Denver. To me, that's not the point.
Nope.
Because they're in new situations as well. I think instead of comparing, what Huff is doing right now for Philly and a brand new team in defense and what JFM is doing for Denver, it's what would these guys be doing if they were still here? How would the D-line look? Would it be a little bit better or would it be the same or worse? And I think a lot of people would suggest it would be better.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they're pieces of the puzzle. They're known commodities here in a defense that and it's easy to say that. Well, he didn't do that in Philly. He's still learning. You're right. That's well said. And especially John Franklin Myers, the money he's making now in Denver is nothing. It's just crazy. But we'll see, man. It's never a dull moment. Like I was so looking forward to last night. As the game played out, my frustration got higher and higher. I'm like, come on, man. Like this.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I had butterflies before the game. I was watching like whatever it was, NFL Live or NFL.
Yeah, me too. Yep.
Whatever that show is on ESPN. And they're showing everybody warming up. I'm like, dude, this is sweet. Everybody's like rocking the cool Jets gear. And once Brees knocked it in for the TD, I'm like, here we go. Like, let's freaking, this is sweet. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Got to pack up, clean up, and move on.
That's it. Turn the page. This is our one-day event and talk about it and analyze it. And now it's up to this team to figure out this week and bounce back on Sunday with a huge win. So,
yeah, dude, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just the one encouraging thing is like we have Aaron Rodgers, man. Like that's like if anything, you have him in the building, the rest of the week, getting these guys back on track. Like, listen, we got to clean this up. Like they're all gonna look up to him. Like we have a leader now. Like in years past, we didn't have that leader there where Zach Wilson, you have nobody there. Now you have this presence in the locker room. Like, all right, here's how we clean things up, right? Seriously, like if Zach gives you like a big pep talk, I'm like, yeah, bro, you suck. This is Aaron Rodgers addressing your team. Like, listen, man, it's not over. It's one game. Here's how we fix things. Everybody get back in the gym, get back on your film study, and let's figure it out. That's the one. I have more faith in him turning around than I do Salah, but I'll take anything at this point.
Yeah, dude. Yep, 100%.
All right, man. That hour went fast.
It really did. I mean, there was so much to talk about,
So I guess thank you guys for joining us. We're 7:00 every Tuesday. Next week will be on his channel. And you guys don't know who he is. We appreciate all the support. It's been fun. And we don't like being negative. Just guys know. But when you lose a game like this and you give 400 yards of offense and it's ugly, you got to talk about it and be honest about it. So anything else you want to give our farewell?
Yeah, no, bro. I just appreciate everybody, taking the time, hanging out, watching. It's not easy consuming content about your favorite sports team after a loss. It's because you don't want to keep continuing to hear negativity and whatnot, and people complain about it and stuff. So I completely get it. So everybody in here hanging out, all the comments, really means a lot.
Yeah. So have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll recap the game next Tuesday. And go Jets, right?
Jet up.